Hello guys, this is Movie Lover and welcome to this Movie Lover world. Inside this house a sleeping father is getting intimate with his stepdaughter. Father's name is John. Daughter's name is Zoe with all these things at all. Actually John is a retired soldier and a very big psychopath and he loves to torture girls. Even before this he has tortured many girls but he hasn't been caught yet. Zoe is also aware of the truth of his dad but is very afraid of him and she supports him in this work despite not wanting to. Zoe also tries to commit suicide several times but she is unable to do so. At night Zoe and John head to a club to find their next victim. There John sees a girl and then asks Zoe to get a drink for her. Zoe gives the drink to that girl and, pointing to John, says that the man bought this drink for you. Then that night the girl comes to his house with Zoe and John. After this John tells the girl to close her eyes and then takes her inside a room. Zoe also gets very angry with herself when she sees all this because she knew what was going to happen next year. Inside the room John takes a photo of that girl. Photos of many girls are hung on the walls of that room. This is a photo of the same girls that John has tortured till now. When she opens her eyes in the room she sees that the whole room is full of torture things and she gets very scared to see this, and then John starts forcing her. After this we are shown a girl named Jennifer is walking on the road and then she asks for a lift from the car. Inside this vehicle is the Deputy Scott of the town. Then Jennifer goes inside Deputy Scott's car. She sees a poster of missing girls and Deputy Scott's car and then asks Scott about it. Scott then tells her that I am the deputy of this town and I am currently working on the case of these missing girls. After some time Scott drops Jennifer at her destination and then it goes from there. Here in John's house we are again shown the girl whom John kidnapped for torture. That girl is in a very bad condition and she is also very much injured. Zoe takes pity on her and then she goes inside that room and prepares a noose in front of that girl, and then she tells that girl that you have two options. Either you continue to suffer the torture of John like this or else commit suicide by hanging this noose. The girl was already very scared because of the torture and she could not bear it anymore, so she decides to die. When John returns home at night he finds the girl dead and realizes that Zoe has helped her die. After this he goes to Zoe and gets very angry on him and then asks him to cut off the leg of the same dead girl as punishment. Zoe is very scared of John. Therefore, despite not wanting, he has to do this out of fear, and then he cuts the girl's feet. The next day Deputy Scott is invited by an old lady to her house and she complains to him that some devilish kids are packing eggs at her house. Upon hearing this Scott tells him they are children so we cannot take any legal action on them. During this those children secretly remove air from the tire of Scott's car. When Scott sees those children then those children run away. Scott goes to the nearby garage to ask for help and by coincidence this garage belongs to John. Then Scott asks John for help. When John is taking Deputy Scott's car from his pickup van, Scott thinks he has seen John somewhere. That's why he asks John if you were in the military. Then John says that yes, I was in the military in Iraq. Then Scott says that I was also in the military in Iraq but my batch was different. After talking to John, Scott finds something wrong with John and so he asks his Sharif about John. Then Sharif tells him that I know John. He married a girl after leaving the military and after 2 years of marriage, his wife committed suicide. Since then he lives with his new girlfriend. From the words of Sharif we get to know that everyone else does not know that Zoe is John's stepdaughter. Everyone thinks that Zoe is his girlfriend. Now, again John goes to the club at night with Zoe to find his next victim. In this club we are shown Jennifer is the same girl who came to this town, asking Scott for a lift, and coming to this town Jennifer started working as a bartender in this club. Zoe again goes to Jennifer to get a drink. After this Zoe sees that John is talking to a girl. Now he has found his next victim, and then Zoe comes back to John and sits down. After some time, after a while Jennifer comes to Zoe with a drink. Here John starts flirting with Jennifer, and then Jennifer too gets caught up in his words. But today, because John was already with the girl, said Jennifer says that both of us will go on a date some other day. After this John brings the girl to his house and then he also takes her to that room. When the girl sees the view of that room, she gets scared, but John forcibly ties her to an iron bed and then gives her an electric shock to torture her. When Zoe sees the atrocities being committed on that girl, he feels very bad, but she could not do anything because of the fear of John. On the other hand, Scott is still suspecting John that he has seen John somewhere, and for this he invests too much on John, and he comes to know about John's truth. The next morning, Scott tells Sharif's daughter that John did not leave the military but was fired for breaking the rule, and after that John changed his identity and married a girl who was already years old, had a daughter, and then after 2 years of marriage John's wife committed suicide. When Sharif's daughter finds out about it all, then he understands that Zoe is not John's girlfriend but his stepdaughter. The girl who was tortured by John the previous night is shown. On the other hand, Zoe meets Jennifer in the bar and talks to her for a long time. Seeing this, we get to know that Zoe has started liking Jennifer. Meanwhile, John comes over there and takes Zoe from there. After this, John in the car warns Zoe that for next time he should not meet anyone without informing him. Coming home, John again starts torturing the kidnapped girl. During the torture, the girl was screaming in fear. When Zoe also listens to her pain, she can't stop herself and comes to the room with gun, and she taunts John, but she is unable to kill John, and then John leaves the room. After this, she goes to that girl and says that this man will not stop torturing you. Only have 2 ways now: either you or this torture for the rest of your life, or commit suicide by killing yourself with this gun. That girl is completely helpless and broken, and then she commits suicide by gun. Till now, duty Scott to confirm that Zoe is not John's girlfriend but his daughter. He attends Zoe's childhood school here. The principal shows Scott some childhood photos of Zoe. Seeing the photos, Scott confirms that Zoe is John's daughter. Zoe is very much disturbed at home, and she has become very much irritated by John's works. Then once Zoe is shopping with John at Town's Mall, the deputy Scott comes to see Zoe and tells him that I know about your truth. If you have any problem, you can tell me. At the same time, John also sees both of them talking, and Zoe says I don't need any help. Then Zoe informs John about it as well, after which both of them go out to find their next victim. That same night, seeing Jennifer there, John decides that he will make Jennifer the next victim. John starts taking Jennifer's drink with him by making him unconscious and then bringing Jennifer into the house. John ties Jennifer to that iron bed. As Deputy Scott sees John's car and follows him and reach John's house, and outside John's house his foot gets caught in a trap that John had put outside his house so that no girl can run away. Scott starts screaming loudly in pain when his leg explodes. When Zoe hears Scott's voice, she comes to him and starts helping him. Just then John also comes there, and then he beats Scott and makes him unconscious. When all this is happening outside, then inside Jennifer opens the rope on her hand with the help of her earring and goes outside and hides. When John comes inside the room carrying the Scott, then he sees that Jennifer is not there. And then after that he goes out to find Jennifer. John finds Jennifer and starts fighting with her. Jennifer also does not give up, and she also starts fighting with John. Here Scott and Zoe are alone in the room. When Scott comes to his senses, he tells Zoe that you are a good girl, and there is still goodness hidden inside you today. You might help, so thank you. John was getting weak in the fight here and there. You call Zoe, who comes to both of them with Zoe gun. John thinks that now Zoe will kill Jennifer, but she doesn't, and on the contrary starts shooting at John and kills John. Next scene, I am Sean. Scott is recovering with his, and in this, Sharif's daughter is also helping him. Just then Sharif's daughter asks Scott if there is any trace of John's daughter, Zoe. Then Scott says no. Then in the last scene we are shown Zoe and Jennifer together as Zoe works to kill the criminal, and then the movie ends here. So I hope you enjoy the video. Thanks for watching. Movie Lover will meet you again with new story. Till take care.